Hey guys, what is up? TR Kerr here, and today we're going to be going over mixing orchestral tracks, and I'm going to be mixing a trailer that I made. So we're just going to go over the whole process and mix down one of my segments for y'all so y'all can see the whole process and kind of how I structure it. We're going to be stacking sounds together and layering and then mixing those layers and sounds together. So pretty simple. Hopefully going to be a good tutorial for y'all, and if you like how that sounds, just stick around. Okay guys, so now that we are inside the track, you can kind of see the structure that I have. This is not structured as nice as I would do for like an actual submission to a record or like trailer recording company. This is just a quick thing I whipped up for y'all. So let's get into it. I have the percussion, and then separate from the percussion, I actually have the claps. That's because I was doing something interesting with automation where I wanted to affect all the claps and not all of the percussion, but we'll get into that a little bit later. And then I have the meat of the track, and I had no better name for it. This is really just the intro booms, the intro hits, and then some brams and some choir, and that's it. And if you're wondering what these are right here, I just froze the track to save my CPU. So if you want to know how to do that, you just go to track header components, and you're going to click on that freeze button right there, and then this will pop up. You're going to freeze the track, and you'll just punch the freeze button, punch the space bar, and it's going to freeze the track for you. It's kind of like bouncing in place almost. And then I have the chords, and I have a choir, a flute, some other things. You can see I really didn't rename these midis. I did at least name some of these. At least I think they're the right names. And then I have the ARPs, which are really important to this track. And then we're going to go down, and I didn't even label this stuff because I really didn't want to group it together. These are only specific to the drop of the track or the climax of the track, and these are all of the synthesizer sounds. And I'll just give them a quick play for you. So let's start with percussion, and we'll end on those. So let's go over to percussion. And by the way, I do not have a master on this right now because I wanted to show y'all it raw without the master. I actually do have a video on mastering this specific track, so that it will be in the description or on my channel, wherever I put it. So trailer music, we'll talk about the structure a little bit, even though I have a whole video talking about the structure. You kind of want two booms at the beginning for the title, and the production company, usually that's what they want, and you want these booms to be pretty prominent because you're going to want cutting points for the editors. So we'll play out the booms and everything, and this is what I like about stacking stuff, is I can just solo my percussion. So we'll solo that out. Alright, so I threw the claps in at the end right there. We'll focus on the top part, but I'm going to leave the claps in for y'all. So when mixing your percussion, I'll just give you some simple tips on that. Is definitely with booms and stuff, watch your low end. So we'll go in right here, and you can see I made a nice cut out. And when using your EQ and when using even volume, it's more about taking away than adding. You're going to be taking away with EQing probably 90 or 80%. Probably I'd say 80% of the time you're taking away your EQ. And you can probably see my volume levels are all over the place, and I'll show you exactly how I got there. First, I'm going to punch A, and you can see I have automation clips and stuff, so this trick won't really work with automation, but this technique is called leveling, and it's used by a lot of composers and a lot of, actually not so much producers, mostly composers do this, and not really sure why. But it is a great technique, and I'm going to actually be using this in my music production as well as my music composition. So what we're going to do is highlight all our tracks, punch shift, and bring them all the way down to 0 decibels. And you can bring it down to -48 also. That's probably the better starting point. But you're going to go in, and you see our automation ones jump back because I already leveled them. But you're going to go in and probably just start with a loop right here. And you're going to actually start to bring everything up. And it does help if your mix is a little bit fuller. Leveling with percussion is it's pretty difficult. And I would definitely recommend, if you're trying leveling out for the first time, to go ahead and do it with brass or string, or those two instruments together, something very loud and full. I just undid all my leveling because this is just for the sake of the video. So leveling, cutting, and something maybe you probably don't know about, since many of y'all probably don't actually do electronic music production. But there's this great plugin called Endless Smile, and I think I might have it on one of these tracks, or I might have it on the master. Okay, I don't, but I'm gonna add it and show y'all what I do with it. So let's put this right here. So this pertains to your builds, and this is mixing. It's also effects, but this plugin Endless Smile, you can just look Data Life Endless Smile. If you've heard of Sausage Fattener, you know Endless Smile. So this is a great way to create artificial risers out of all of your sounds together. Like, it saves so much time with your pitch bending, rather than pitch bending your drums and everything and changing the sample rate to get better sample quality. We're just gonna be changing literally in the intensity. So we'll just go to punch A, automation, Endless Smile, intensity, right there. So we're going to probably hit it right here, and then bring it up right here, and we'll play it before and after. Let me solo this. So that's the soft. We'll do extreme just for y'all to see. So obviously this would be remixed, and I would actually probably set an EQ automation to bring up the lows, because this does cut your lows a little bit. I don't like to go over probably about 40 with this plugin for orchestral sounds, especially if you're playing it over all the drums. But if you want to apply it over risers, you can make your risers rate way more extreme, or even like claps and stuff. It works super great. So we'll just play it before and after. And then we'll add it again so you can hear it. So like I said, this is the extreme setting. You can mess around with all the different settings, but you can hear it right there. That is a great way to add that trailer intensity without having to pitch bend everything. And even you can get away with not using, I'm not sure what I just clicked right there. Whoops. That's what Command Z is for. You can even get away with not using your risers. Not as much risers. For me, it's always hard to find a good riser sample pack. Leave one down below if you have any that you would like, or that you like to use, because I definitely am on the hunt for those. So up next, we can just talk about the claps a little bit. And So the reason I introduced these claps kind of in right here is because they came out of nowhere in the drop. I'm gonna just use that term. Sorry, I don't know the official term for the trailer climax. Maybe it's that in the drop, and they just came out of nowhere. So I added them in just to give the ear a heads up that they're coming in. And let's see, I don't think I did anything special. Okay, so I did actually add a channel EQ, which I did nothing with. Probably slight compression, and then this definitely is a great plugin. I finally jumped on the train and dropped $50 on this plugin, and I don't regret it at all. This creates a very warm and there's really not a way to describe it, but it creates a really great reverb that you don't really get from any other reverb plugins. I do hear that people like to use algorithmic reverb plugins, so check that out. I've used algorithmic reverb. I've used matrices also. I'm not sure if they're the same or not, but something to definitely consider when choosing your plugin. Okay, so that's kind of my opinion on reverb. Definitely check out that Valhalla Room, Vanilla Room, whatever it's called plugin. Super great. So now we're getting to the very interesting stuff. And mostly with percussion, you're going to have some compression, maybe some reverb, and a little bit of EQing, especially in the low ends, like I said with the booms. But this is where you can get way more creative and do some really interesting things. So let me solo this part out. And you can see that the percussion and stuff kind of, these all kind of join together right here. And I like to bring all this together in mastering, kind of glue these together with with compression. So I'm not going to get into melodies too much, but I think I'm in the key of B minor, G minor. Can't remember. I like those keys. I'm not sure which one I'm in right now. Let's see. I'm going to say it's G sharp minor. Throwing that out there. Not a music theory guy. I actually kept that key on my phone screensaver because it was kind of hard to remember. But so now we're going into kind of the more interesting sounds besides percussion. These are really, like, we have atmospheric sounds right here, and I'll walk through them. Omnisphere is a super great plugin for kind of those atmospheric sounds, but also you can get some really cool leads with them, especially in the guitars. I think once you apply a lot of processing and mixing onto them, they start to sound really cool. And there is a difference between processing your sound and mixing it. Mixing is kind of letting your sound sit well in your track, and processing it is changing your sound. So this is just a Phoenix Rising. I think it might be the very first preset. I'm not sure. And it's right there. It's just, and I don't know if I did anything with. I don't even think I did anything on automation for it. It's just a really cool, nice full sound in the low end, especially for the beginning. The perceived loudness of bass is a little bit lower, so I'm saving the higher ends for the drop, and still kind of the same decibel readout. It just seems a little bit quieter, so you can have the extra punch towards the end. So we have some basses and just some EQing around that, and we have our piano reverb, and I'll take the processing off. So we have that, and then when I put it back on, it starts to fill up and sound like a room. And then I think I just have a regular hit. Yes. See, I didn't even rename that. I just copied it and added a new thing. So again, heavy reverb with this to create that eerie sound. And when we double it with the flute, these are simple, just simple MIDI steps. right here. Nothing's crazy going on. Just following the, I think this is the 5th, this is the 1st, this is the 5th, and this is the 3rd, I believe. And those are 3 great things to hit when writing a melody. You can create some pretty memorable, catchy tunes with that. Melodies at least. And then we just have an Atmos hit, just to grab the attention. Something a little extra in there. You can barely hear it, but it adds just a little bit more shine or brightness to that sound, and gets the ear and the audience ready to hear something new. Let me mute the ARPs. So these are actually very interesting, and I did actually most of the mixing inside of Serum itself because I like the Serum effects, and it's just easier to create the sound there. So we'll move on, and this is kind of the second part. I'm going to include the chords and with this section also. So we'll have I'll show you the 2 basses. Pretty simple. It's it's just a flat key staying on, I think I would say G sharp, since I think that's my key. That's how I know, because I usually do these on the key. Yeah, so this is in the key G sharp. Oh wait, and something that if you have to really listen to, especially if the ARP's not playing, is actually pretty prominent, but with the ARPs you really have to listen for that sound. And this is just some volume mixing mostly. Exactly. And I did do some stuff inside of Serum. Let's see. I didn't even add effects in Serum. Maybe I'm a little lazy, but whatever. So I think this is an initial preset, and I just doubled these, added 1 unison, did a sine wave sub, and dropped an octave. Super simple sound, but it sounds good in the track. So as long as it fits, it works. So same thing here, and you might be wondering, how did I get this in Logic? This is just when you choose your instrument, you choose 5.1 surround, and I like mixing in 5.1 and then having the option later to go into stereo, because if you're mixing in 5.1 you can export in 5.1. You can't really export from stereo to 5.1. So now we're going to be looking at the choir. I think this is the choir. Yep. Just a Valhalla room, vanilla room, whatever. And then we have some brass. Then a French horn. I actually have these effects off. And this one knob filter series is pretty interesting. You can get all of these effects from the one knob filter series with side chaining. They have like a lot of different options, and so if you don't have enough money to buy the series, honestly you can make all the effects yourself with stock plugins, but it's a nice, like, really easy to automate that. And then we have the French horn. I think it's the French horn. There we go. So I definitely kept those on, and like I said, with this we added the Endless Smile on top of everything, on top of the whole bus for the stacked layers, I guess. And now on to the ARPs. So we're gonna go down right here and solo these ARPs, and these actually had the most automation, and it was all volume and then a little bit filtering. And then we have another one coming in right here. It's a very interesting sound, super electronic. This is maybe an arpeggiation pattern you would see in like old video game music. That's kind of what I was going for with this. So let's just solo out each ARP synth and talk about it a little bit. And I will go into the sound design of these just because they're very interesting. And let me pick them all out. So I think those are just doubled. And you can see these are all panned in different directions because I wanted it to sound really full. And they're all slightly quantized differently to kind of create those reflections. Super or not atmospheric, but volumetric reflections, I guess. So this is really all one preset, slightly modified, and guess what? It is the same preset as earlier, except on this bass right here, I didn't drop it an octave, and I created the unison of 5 right here. I changed the sub from sine wave to a square wave, and created that right there. Sound design does not have to be crazy as long as it works for you. And I am actually studying some sound design right now, and I show you a little bit about what I have created over here, because this is where sound design is really interesting. So we'll listen to everything that we have so far. Let me make sure nothing's muted. I actually think this is not. Yeah, okay, that's supposed to be there. So, talking about the mix down, we have a super distorted flute sound. How did you get this flute sound on a serum? You're probably wondering. Well, I'll show you right here. We'll take out these oscillators. It's kind of an organic sound to come out of serum, which is interesting. And then our FX right here, and super simple effects. There's nothing crazy going on. You can hear some hyper, EQ, filter, and this is technically still sound design, but it is also mixing when you think about it, because it is the same stuff. And you can see right here, I actually took the delay out because I didn't like how it sounded in the mix. I liked how it sounded in the preset, but when it was mixed together, it didn't sound good to me. It's made it stand out too much. So our second sound, it's just some violence to fill up that mid-range, and we can see right here. I'm going to actually pull up the EQ for everything, and I'll just set that in the corner for y'all so you can kind of see how everything's kind of reacting. I'll just drop it right there. Same thing. This might be that might have been a cello. This is probably, yeah, we don't even have any mix on it. So this is where a lot of the sound is coming from. The key haze is almost the exact same preset, and I added this plugin right here. Really great plugin for creating. I like to use it on brass and stuff that sounds a little weak, and a audio filter. And then we'll open up Serum, maybe talk a little bit about the sound design as well. So you can see right here, we have a sub, and I bumped it up an octave just to fill up the mid-range a little bit more. We have a pretty interesting filter going on. And that filter is kind of helping shape and control the sound inside the mix. So we'll go down again, and I'll have some of these down for free for y'all, just to play around with and make some cool stuff. Choir, again, just filling up some of the space. So for example, re-listening to this, like I said, I've made this track pretty fast. I would add some reverb to it, and it's really great to when you start the mixing process, maybe the day before you want to fully mix everything together, is add some effects and stuff, and then see how that sounds, and just create a project alternative right there. and jump back and forth, and maybe you like the sound already with some of the effects you already mixed in, then start there and you're already a step ahead. For example, I really didn't do much stereo design on this. I would maybe stereo design this whole thing. I'd probably save that for the end, but I could stereo design it all from the beginning, save that as a project alternative, and then mix it unstereo designed, and then reload that stereo design and see if I like the stereo sound or not. Some brass right there. Good sounding, super powerful. This is just filling our lower end. And just by the way, most of this is coming from East West Play, and I think I might have messed with the attack and stuff a little bit, but that's more sound design and envelope shaping. So we have everything together, and you can see most of my mixing was done on top of these track stacks, and that's for saving time. This is nowhere close to complete mix, but it is a good start and some good tips for mixing your sound. So we'll just play through it a little bit and solo some tracks and see how it sounds. So something I want to talk about here is you can see we're leaving a lot of room for the low end in these sounds, and you could potentially let's add the percussion back in. Let's go to the full thing. Oh yes, and this is something I have not even talked about yet. But that is track referencing. I was referencing the Blade Runner promo music. Super great. Definitely reference tracks if you want to get that professional sound. Let's go down here. Let's see, I think this EQ applies to yes, so we have all of our stuff right here. Still kind of learning Logic's layout. I've been an FL Studio user for I think 2 years now. I started off in Logic, but I switched to FL, and now I'm back because it's actually because of mixing. I could mix so much easier in Logic's windows than in FL's because I could just click right there. It's actually and that's something you have to decide, like which DAW's right for you. Sometimes you have to switch at different times. So let's do this right here, and we'll solo. We'll unsolo everything, and we'll solo out just our leads, and we can see what kind of hole we carved out for them. So much of our lead action is happening right here, and that's kind of where you want your leads. We do have some high ends and stuff, which is good to have. And then we have our ARPs, which aren't even included in this. Our chords, they're not included either. And then the meat, which is just really just one flute right here playing. And then the claps. So let's play all that together and see. So one thing, the reason I layered so many claps and made my own channels, you can see the claps are really driving the track, and that's kind of something to think about when you're mixing, is what's driving the track. And if it's driving the track, you want to layer that sound over all the frequencies and have have that bump right there pushing everything up. Okay, so now percussion, and if you thought the claps were driving the track, you're really going to think the percussion is when you see the reaction. So a lot of our power is coming from this 50 to 100 decibel range, and that's because the drums are driving the track. And even seeing this, I would say maybe they're driving the track to a fault. We actually have a little bit more. So maybe something that you would consider doing is analyzing each thing separately and saying maybe these leads do need to fill up a little bit low end, or maybe you see and you're watching your leads and you're seeing like So something I do want to talk about for a little bit is first of all, if your leads are filling or not filling a hole in the mix, you can kind of just see that if you just solo them out. But I did notice something right here. So for this track it works pretty well, but we have a frequency standing out right there. And a way you would kind of, sometimes you don't want these and you do something like this. And that's just fighting out those frequencies. And you can even do the opposite and see where it is. So we hit it dead on right there, so we know for sure it's right there. Let's say maybe it's too loud in the mix. We can do a little dip around that frequency right there. And you don't even have to do this on the master. Like I said, I could create a bus for all of these lead elements and just bust them out of there. That way the mix is still kind of full with the other sounds. That's a mouthful. So that's kind of the mixing process for this whole thing. So guys, thank you for watching. I hope you liked the video. I have free presets below for Serum, so if you like some of those sci-fi sounds, I will definitely have those in the link below for free. Thanks guys for watching, and have a great day.